I want to start with a guy that is on everybody's radar, it seems like, and that is South Dakota offensive tackle Joe Cotton. I say everybody's radar because the tweet I think that Chris Hummer initially posted with all the schools that are interested, I didn't see any schools missing from that list. I believe there were 24 different logos, so it seems like he is a hot commodity in this portal. Matt, what are you hearing on his front, and why is there so much interest?
Most importantly for Joe Cotton, and this isn't something on the list, but Cooper thinks highly of him. So that's the biggest compliment to Joe Cotton out of anything. But say simply put, this 6'7", 315-pound offensive tackle was an all-conference player at South Dakota, has visits locked in at this point for Cincinnati and Wisconsin. But both of those places will have additional competition to be able to land someone who I haven't checked the updated list, but the last time I looked was still among our top 5 ranked uncommitted players in the portal at this point.
Hummer, we've also had some movement coming out of Stanford with the head coaching change and everything that's happening there. A player that I know there's a lot of interest in, Julian Neal, the cornerback. What are you hearing on his front?
Yeah, another Cooper favorite. I know Cooper loves the guy. And he's an interesting one, right? Like, he only started 4 games for Fresno State last year, but I think a lot of teams are enamored with his length, ball skills, and his ability to kind of run with guys on the outside. There just aren't a lot of corners his size available in the open market. And he's been pretty popular. He was coming off a visit to Syracuse. His Fresno State defensive coordinator is now an analyst at Syracuse. He's at Virginia today, just arrived. And then other schools like Tennessee, Colorado, Minnesota, Auburn, Arkansas, USC have all been pushing for visits with Julian Neal. So he's a very popular guy. I think the family is taking the time with the process and kind of enjoying it a little bit. But he's been a very popular guy in the portal, and a lot of teams are in really big need of an outside cornerback right now.
The running back market has been something that's interesting to track over the last few days. Maybe a name that hasn't been mentioned as much as Charmar Brown out of North Dakota State. Chris, what are you hearing on his front and that interest?
Yeah, he's a really interesting player. I don't know if everybody's familiar with North Dakota State. They won the FCS National Championship this year, and he was a huge reason why. He ran for over 1,000 yards, ran for over 15 touchdowns, had a 90-plus PFF grade, won the Jerry Rice Award, which is essentially the freshman Heisman in college football, or in the FCS. It's the same award Cam Ward won back in the day when he was at Incarnate Word, actually. And he had quite a career on the FBS level once he got there. And I think Charmar, who goes by Marty Brown, could have maybe not a Cam Ward impact, but a very big impact for a school next year. Talking to schools around the country, he is somebody with a huge upside. They really love him, talking to schools about his potential and his ability to really be a game changer. He is somebody that schools like Miami, I think, will be very active with. Cal, who I know we're going to talk about in a little bit, would love a shot at Marty Brown as well. So he's going to be a very popular name in the portal. Not as sexy of a name, not as well known of a name as Jaden Knott, but I think he's somebody that schools view in a similar level. Not quite to that caliber, but very close.
Yeah, and a name that a lot of people know well is Micah Hudson. From the standpoint of this is not his first time in the transfer portal during this cycle. Initially out of Texas Tech, played as a freshman last year, then hit the transfer portal in December, went to Texas A&M. Now he is back in the transfer portal. Matt, what's next?
I think the most likely scenario is that he ends up in essentially a prove-it situation. I don't know where that's going to be yet, but Micah went to Texas A&M, became clear pretty quickly, or going back, it seems like a long time ago, that most likely wasn't going to be back with the team or wasn't expected to be back. And now officially in the portal as of today, that there is, I guess, a slim chance that they could maybe reunite with Texas Tech, which he originally signed with as a top 10 recruit. And if I remember correctly, the highest ranked recruit in school history. Right now, I view that as unlikely, which I think Chris would probably agree with, and he can correct me if I'm off base on that. But either way, regardless of where it is, I do think that Micah ends up in a prove-it type deal. Just don't have the thorough list as things stand as of yet on the schools that could be involved here, beyond just the slim chance that maybe something could come together with Texas Tech.
I should say, like, prove it situation for sure, but I think Micah is still going to be a guy who ends up on the Power 4 level and have those opportunities. But I would also be surprised, based on what I've heard, if he ends up back at Texas Tech, even though the possibility isn't necessarily off the table.
Can't rule anything out at this point. Chris, you mentioned that Cal is in the market for running back. The big name to leave, of course, is Jaden Knott, but they've lost 5 total players at that position. Where do they go from here?
It's been a rough couple weeks in the portal for Cal, and in some ways a rough offseason when you go back to them losing Fernando Mendoza in the first place. But that's a program that's done a really good job overall in the portal, finding guys, finding gems, and I think they'll probably figure it out. I don't mean to dismiss the impact of a running back in college football. They have a really outsized impact on offenses sometimes, but there are a lot of really good backs in the portal right now that have popped up the last 24 hours, and I think Cal's going to be very aggressive. They have to be, with 5 of them stepping out the door to fill that hole. And they hired a new running backs coach this offseason, Julian Griffin, who came over from UTSA. He's somebody who's had multiple all-conference backs in his career, is pretty well respected in the space. I think they'll manage to figure it out, but Cal's just had kind of a tough road holding on to their guys this offseason for a variety of reasons.
And the shame of it for Cal, like Chris touched on, that there are some respected guys on that staff, not only from a coaching standpoint, but from a front office standpoint. And this is just the day and age that we're in with college football, where it's obviously far from the first time that we've seen a team get rated and lose key guys. And the unfortunate part for Cal is, going back to the winter cycle, they've lost players that were set to be some of their premier guys, or just frankly their premier guys heading into this season, starting with Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback, who is an NFL type talent back during the winter. And now during the course of the last few days, you have the 5 running backs who have gone into the portal, headlined by Jaden Knott, who before dealing with injuries last year was viewed by NFL scouts as a legitimate first round possibility. You also have Javian Thomas, who ended up leading the team in rushing last year, who goes into the portal today. But let's not forget about other players like Jack Endries, the tight end also, who's somebody who's viewed as an NFL talented tight end. So it's been an unfortunate run for Cal overall in terms of losing some of these guys. But you can believe, like Chris touched on, that they'll be aggressive, be active, trying to find replacements. They've done a good job adding players through the portal during the course of the last couple of years, and obviously have their work cut out for them right now just to replace some of this talent that has now left the program.
You mentioned Jack Endries, the tight end. While you two were talking, we popped up that breaking news on the screen. Another player from Cal hitting the portal. So a lot of holes to fill there, but I'm sure you guys will be all over when they do fill those holes and who they fill them with. Thank you both so much for being here. We appreciate it.